All right. A little bit of impact. I wish to apologize. This is late. And I have to admit, I forgot to watch Impact last night. I did. I forgot. I was doing something, and then after I did what I did, well, I went to my physical therapy because I got to go to physical therapy. Ate my dinner. I was doing something, and then when I was supposed to stop, I totally forgot. I forgot. I watched Marvel's Earth's Mightiest Heroes afterward. That was the 2010 version, not the 1990 version. I totally forgot, and that's my fault, my bad. I'm sorry. So I had to make up for this. So you have now your Gump of Goodness for Blair Davenport. I believe that's the one I just uploaded. And you're going to get this. Yes, it's several hours late, but this is what you get. I'm going to tell you this. The show, taking away from all the changes that has happened, and we got a lot of changes in TNA. Let's make it very clear. We got a lot of changes in TNA. We got Josh Matthews gone. We got Chrissy Hemme is gone. We now have the first new president of TNA. He's gone. And now you got now 3 new people who are executives and one guy who was originally the director of ROH. That is what we just got. And I have my misgivings on it, and I will probably do either a Gump report or Gump of Goodness to talk about it. I don't know which one yet. But just taking that into account, a lot has changed in TNA. I can't tell you what's for the better. And as much as people want to probably say it is, don't know yet. We have no idea how TNA is going to respond with these changes. But if you look at the show for what it is, which is pre-recorded before this happened, I would tell you that most of this was good. Yes, I will tell you most of it was good. Not everything. Most was good. And I'm very happy to see most of this was good. Now, I want to make this very clear. Many people just don't get it when it comes to a wrestling promotion. And when someone like myself talks about it, saying, oh, most of this is good, it's not always all good. And a lot of times that's not always a good thing. And many people will say, dude, not any promotion is perfect. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. You can be consistently good, consistently great, or consistently bad. It's one of them. But if you constantly have something is good, then isn't good. Then there's a problem here, and then there's another problem here. And it's not consistent. That's the problem. People want consistency. They want consistently good or consistently great. And, of course, they get pissed off if it's consistently bad. And that is borderline when it comes to TNA. We have consistently some type of issue. Let's make it clear. If it's not on screen, it's in the back. And that's the problem right now. We have consistently a situation with TNA where we hear what happened with Scott D'Amore, where we hear what happened now that the newly elected president, well, not elected president, I should take that back. I'm thinking about Mustafa Ali and his cabinet. But the new positioned president of TNA from Anthem, he was put in there after Scott was ejected and removed. That's it. He's gone. I don't care. He didn't even last a year. He's just shy of a year, guys. I know that Scott left, in March? Somewhere around February to March of this year from last year. And then what did we get? In the beginning of maybe near the end of March into April, we got the new president. And now he doesn't even make it to April, if I'm remembering correctly. Now, I could be wrong. It could be March that he took control of TNA, the new president. I can't remember his name when I only need to. Because we got Carlos and Silva. That's the new president of TNA who's worked 30 years in network. Doesn't that sound familiar? The guy who just left did the same thing. And 2 other people have worked in ABC, NBC, CBS. No better. So let's see what happens. But if you look at this show, going back to it, I know it's been 4 minutes. No, 4 minutes, 30 seconds. It wasn't bad. It had issues, yes, but it wasn't bad. Let's open with Jake something versus Joe Henry, which I'm kind of surprised that they went down this route. You let Joe Henry open the show as a champion. I do not agree with that. I'm sorry. This is one of the things I don't agree with. Because it's just like when it came to the ending of the show. I don't agree with it. I don't. This should have not happened. You should not have them on the same show. Joe Hendry should not be defending his title on a show where one person is supposed to be honored and be allowed to have a memory. You shouldn't have done that. You already had one title match already. You didn't need two on the show. I do not agree. But we did get Joe Hendry versus Jake something. A good match. It was not a bad match. Joe did pretty well. And then when you look at what happened with Jake something that we've always stated, many people in the wrestling community, what few that still reviews TNA, there are very few who do. As far as I know, everyone keeps reviewing Raw, SmackDown, AEW, now a lesser form of AEW, but it's been WWE all the way. Very few are willing to really do any TNA reviews. Very few. And seeing this, they probably said the same thing. I'm glad to see Jake something get this title match. He's worked hard. He's been a good character in many cases, and he deserves it. I just don't believe that he should be opening the show. Now, he did lose the match, of course, and then we get Ryan coming out. The Nimitz that we just don't like, which is good. He's doing his job. He's being an annoying pain in the ass, annoying asshole. But he comes out, goes after Joe, saying that he's a fraud. Then we get Santino Marella coming in a power walk. I believe I got a shot of that. That's in my face. He does a power walk down there, tries to stop it. Nick comes out to stop well, what did we really get here? You got Nick super kicking Jake something because Jake tried to grab at his brother, and Santino gets taken out. One kick to Santino's jaw. I should do that. Like that. He is down, nose like this to the mat. Now, of course, afterward, he's got a big piece of ice on his chin, and Nick is trying to apologize. He says, yeah, I know, you didn't mean it. Yeah, we worked OVW together. We started together. We known each other more than 20 years, yes. But due to the fact that even though I respect your family, he pretty much said, look, we're friends. I respect your family. But what we have, and he holds up the Director of Authority badge, says, look, this has to be respected and protected. And because of what you did, suspended for 4 weeks with no pay. And it's his brother Ryan who's saying, why are you suspending him? Suspend a Joe Hendry. And Nick is beginning to show frustration with his brother, saying, stop it, stop it, stop it. I'm sorry. He goes off. He's angry just like he was when he super kicked Santino. He realized he fucked up and he's going, damn, just like when he super kicked Santino. Same thing. And then Ryan is the one who's supposed to be holding it down until he comes back in a month. Let me give it to you like this. Was it effective? Yes. What do we get from Santino? Santino is more aggressive now because he's pissed off. Because I will talk about Tess in a moment. But he's just annoyed with this. His nerves are done. For the way that TNA has been running lately, he is getting frustrated beyond fuck. He's getting tired of it. And now go to Tessa Blanchard. Because what did we get? Ariana going up to Tessa's door, trying to breathe and say, I gotta be nice, knock, try to be friendly, and Tessa's not. But Santino comes. He hears the yelling from Tessa. And he's not happy with her because she was supposed to have at least 1 or 2 matches, and she's refused. Now, let's take it away from this story part. It's part of the story. So far, she's only done 1 match. Only thing we've seen is just her beating people down, particularly Jordan Grace. But what do we have? We're going to get her next match next week. Santino made it very clear, I am sick and tired of this. My nerves are done. You don't want to see me pissed off. You will be in that ring or there'll be repercussions. Now, this is where it gets interesting. When you see that they're taking the actual controversies that Tessa has had over the years and let her say it, was actual good booking. Whether you believe that she shouldn't be getting this spot, let's make this very clear. I know there's going to be people who's going to leave a comment below says, I don't know why everyone is still having a hate for her. She's doing fine. She's great for TNA. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work in your world, in the real world. What you like doesn't matter. What I like doesn't matter. It's what she presented to the wrestling industry. What she was presented from the other wrestlers, the female wrestlers who said that she treated them badly. And she's never addressed it. She's never apologized. And worse yet, she's brought into TNA when nobody knew anything, and it was done by an executive of Anthem. We know this. So there are people who still do not believe in Tessa at all, and they're just waiting for her to do something stupid so they can talk crap about her. And they will probably be right if she's stupid enough to act stupid. But I say this as someone who's never agreed or disagreed with what's going on. I go by what I see and what I hear in the back. What we got here was a good segment of Tessa using what is actual history for her to be used in the storyline of her trying to get back to the main title picture. That's the deal. I say this clearly. That is the deal that we have here. And I can tell you easily, it's a smart move to do that. Use real life to promote a storyline. That's what not many people understand these days. But at least it was done correctly. But I will say this, and I am interjecting my own feelings about it. If, and I say if they do this because we don't know if they're going to do this. If they rush Tessa to become champion in less than a few months with very few matches, it will backfire in their faces, and I'll be one of the first ones they'll say this is bullshit. Because Tessa should not, within 2 or 3 months, get that damn title when she did not go through the entire roster of women that are currently there, like Xia Brookside, Jody Threat, Danny Luna. We didn't see her go up against of course, Tasha, who's now part of the cabinet. I'll talk about in a minute. And every other woman there, including Rosemary. If she does not go through those women, at least some of them, not if you can't do them all, if you only can do a few of them, fine. At least 5, 6 of them, something. If it's only one person or 2, and then she gets a title opportunity. If she does not lose that title opportunity, I mean, she has a title opportunity and loses, and I really don't want her to even have that. She should be built correctly. Because the last time in 2020, she wasn't built correctly, no matter what anybody says. They try to make it about her being a woman instead of being an underdog. But if they make her get a title opportunity after only 2 matches on the main roster, taking away from Jordan Grace, that match with her, you don't count that. If she only gets 2 matches, gets an opportunity and wins, fuck that shit. It's wrong. They built Tessa wrong. And if it's part of her contract, fuck TNA. I'm just saying if that happens. I'm hoping they'll build her correctly. I'm hoping that we will get a fair rise of 4 to 5, maybe 6 months of Tessa. And if you say that's too long, you need it after what's been going on for the last 5 years. Shut up. That's not meant to be disrespectful. You need to just shut up and listen. She's had controversy for 5 freaking years, no matter what you want. And she has to have a proper build. If it takes 5 to 6 months, then it's 5 to 6 fucking months. Deal with it. Now, let's go to the cabinet with Mustafa Ali. He now has the great hands because he doesn't want them to be good hands anymore. And then you had the secretary, the cabinet secretary, which is Atasha Steeles. And you have this situation where he's trying to build himself a new group where possibly there's going to be no more Secret Service. And it's just going to be the good hands and Tasha by his side, which would be more wise to do because they have to keep bringing people in to try and fill that position. And they keep getting beat up. And in many cases, he really needs his own faction that's within TNA itself. He needs it. So seeing that the great hands and Tasha are with him, fine. That's good, his own faction. And he says, we need proper leadership going into the future, going for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. It is me. Let's hear it for the one that should be doing this. Me, Mustafa Ali. No one cheers. And he says, twice he tries to get it. It doesn't work. But then he gets upset when No one responds, and then Tommy comes in, and it's, oh, here we go. Here goes one of the people that makes this problem, who thinks he's the heart of TNA, the locker room, anything, and Tommy says, I'm not the heart. And he points into the stands, because this is an empty arena right now. This is being filmed without anyone in the arena. They're setting up the things and getting ready for the people. And one of the people there, he points to Santana. Since now Josh put over Santana, now Santana is the gold standard. And Santana's what you want. This is where it's the beginning of a rivalry where you got the new standard versus the one who wants to become the president of TNA. Now, I believe that's a good thing. Now, what could be interesting, well, I hope does happen. One segment we're going to have is going to be with the two New Yorkers. That's what I'm hoping for. Sooner or later, if they're smart, you're going to let Santana talk with Tasha Steelz. And I think that might actually be a wise thing to do. Because you don't know what it's like to see New Yorkers talk to one another. Particularly wrestlers who are New Yorkers. We always have, I'm not saying for everyone in New York, because not everyone has this type of attitude. But when you see two New Yorkers come at one another, depending on which borough you're from, if you're from Brooklyn and another person from Brooklyn, there's a certain attitude they have. In Queens, the same thing. In Manhattan or the Bronx, because I was born in Manhattan and I moved to the Bronx, and also Mount Vernon, but I live in the Bronx. I know a little bit of both. So the attitude I have is a little bit of Manhattan and a lot more in Bronx. I want to see both those two. And I do believe Tasha is from the Bronx. I could be wrong. Let them at one another. Let them talk to one another. Let the attitude of New Yorkers happen, which will enrich the entire segment. But that's just me moving on. Now, Kaz versus, and I know I'm skipping over the women's tag match. I will get that in a minute. But I want to talk about Kaz, not Taz, Kaz. And what are we really getting here with Sami Callihan versus Warren with a Steph DeLander? I'm questioning where they're going to go with this. Because, yes, when it came to Sami coming out after Kaz went to the ring, Frankie, he got his ass beat up and almost choked. And he was willing to still do the match. Of course. But then when you see, what is the guy, Mace Warren? He comes out again. And that was enough of a distraction to get the chicken wing put onto Sami. The reason I'm pausing here is that I'm wondering, is Kazarian going to gain something from this? It feels like he's being used to promote that storyline, which wouldn't be that bad. But we do need something with Frankie Kazarian when he has that call to shot. He's got to do something with that cup eventually. And I do believe by maybe the middle of this year, he probably will cash it in. Because I don't think they know what they really want to do with it. At least not yet. I think maybe he'll cash in by Slammiversary. It is a possibility. But I really hope they do something more with Frank Kazarian. When it comes to Sami and Warren, I do believe they're just going to make this a straight-out brawl between the two. And then eventually the Digital Media Championship will probably be on the line, which I don't like the title. I wish it had been the International Heavyweight Championship that had been transformed into another title. Because at least you can keep the prestige of that title. You could have kept, I believe it was from Stampede Wrestling, made 1936. And I would have liked to see that damn title was developed into something. I cannot believe they refused to take that title that has such prestige from an older promotion, change it into something, leave some type of remnant of the original title, like in a little plate that's on a new title, and make it very clear that TNA is recognized in Stampede Wrestling, if it was Stampede, that prestige, and makes a small plate that is basically a replica of the big one, and they just make a new title from that. At least it will feel more prestigious than the damn Digital Media Championship. It feels like, what was it? What did they call it? The Grand Slam, TNA Grand Slam Championship, I believe at one point, that Moose won twice. That's what the Digital Media Championship feels like. I'm just saying, moving on. Now, let's get to what was really good. We had the Elegance. I was going to call them the Ashes, but look, Heather has earned some good credit while she's been working as Heather Elegance. So the Elegance are going against the King Bees. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I do believe the King Bees, I think I did check out NWA several months ago, and I think they were on it. Now, I do understand they are in I believe they're in Texas. And, what was it? Austin, Texas. And right now, NWA has a branch there that Jazz is running. So if the King Bees are from that branch, I'm fine with it. It's good to see, one, NWA is actually being recognized by TNA because they were partnered a very long time ago. And they still see them as a reputable promotion, even though I don't think NWA would feel the same way with Billy Corgan. I don't think he would even mention them. If he does, great. But I don't think he has in years. But we got fucking fresh meat. Guys, we got jobbers. I don't think this will go on for very long. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they bring more male as well as another set of females to job for other wrestlers. We need to make the division feel full. I am glad to see they brought in another tag team for the current tag teams that are inside TNA to job to. Thank you. I don't care who decided, just bring them in, pay them a little bit of money, and let them do a one-time match. Maybe 2. Or maybe 3. You can have that one match as tag, and then you can have both women as singles, and the other woman could be on the outside. If they did that, I will say, good. Because they don't do that in TNA. They'll bring them in as singles, or they'll bring them as tag, and then they're gone. So dumb. They should be working. Let the women who are working in a tag, let them also do singles matches, and let the partner be outside, and let them watch their partner face a TNA wrestler. Let them face a knockout. But this is just me. You guys can below. But it was good to see this. Now, did the Elegance mess them up? They did okay. They weren't a great tag team to be dealing with the King Bees. But it's only been a few months, and I think they still need more work between Heather and Ash. Now, what did I think about the Woody getup? Look, Ash's boobs look good. Heather looks good. It doesn't really matter what they wear as long as they can still perform in the ring. Now, Heather seems to be a little bit better of a wrestler than Ash is. Ash is more flamboyant as a wrestler. She's not down and dirty in there. I'm sorry, she just isn't. She's more of a character than Heather is. Heather is more of a wrestler. Ash is more of a character. If you don't like it, that's not the problem here. That's what you're dealing with. But once they won a match, and then they're going to try and put makeup on them, you see Spitfire. Well, here's the thing. I would have liked Spitfire not to come out. I would like Spitfire to be left alone and be left in the back. They can watch on a TV, fine. And they can get angry about it, fine. But they didn't need to rush them out to start facing them, because when you do something like that, it doesn't always translate always well. I'd rather see them in the back and talking, because we need more when it comes to Ash, Heather, as well as Danny and Jody. And you need more. The reason I'm botching here is because they just throw them into matches and make them do stuff without trying to build their characters or the story. And that is what we need. Moving on. Now, we got Xia Brookside versus Cora Jade. A bit of a sloppy match. A little bit. I don't think they really face each other much. So you can see as they're trying to get some of the moves done, like when Xia was trying to do a monkey flip with Cora, that came out pretty well. When it came to some of the other moves, it looked very sloppy. Like a Hurricane Rana, when it came to Cora Jade, it looked off because I think Cora tried really hard to sell for Xia, but then it was a little sloppy, mostly due to the fact that Xia is smaller. This is Cora, this is Xia. She's a little bit shorter than her, so she doesn't have the height, and she probably doesn't have the strength the same as Cora Jade does. Not saying that Zaya is a weak woman. It's just that due to the fact that Corey is a bigger woman. And trying to compensate, it can look a little awkward. It does happen. So it's not more botchiness. It's more like you got one woman who's smaller than the other, and they're trying to do moves that really require women the same size or one much larger to do the move to. It would have been better if Zaya Brookside had done the Hurricanrana, and it would have been easier that way. And she could have done the tumble and would have looked a little more natural. But the match was okay. In the end, I gotta say this. I'm actually kind of happy this happened. Cora Jade is more, how can I say this? In NXT, Cora Jade is more of an established character since 2.0. Let's make that very clear. Not everyone liked 2.0 with Vince. I don't blame you. I was never a fan of 2.0, but I will say that some wrestlers who came out of it were able to adapt to 2.0, then 2.50, and now 3.0. At least some of them are. They're going for 1, 2, and 3. So I can say Cora is one of those women who has somewhat adapted pretty well to the situation, particularly going to TNA. She is not that bad. So seeing that she won this is good, and that also leads to a match between her eventually, and I know it's not going to really mean a lot, to a Marsha Slamovich. Okay, Marsha Slamovich versus Savannah Evans, which should have opened the show. I'm sorry. No. This shouldn't have been the second to last on the card. It should have been the opening on the card. Because this made no sense having 2 title matches here. It was dumb. I do not agree with it. It's stupid. And I'm telling you right now, it didn't need to happen. It didn't. This should have opened the show. It was not a bad match, but it's not the point of it being a bad match. It was the point that it should never been near it should never been near the end, because that was supposed to be something special when it comes to Josh and Eric Young. And I will get my point on that. I know people are going to say, dude, wait and listen. I truly believe these women should have had something separate from the men, particularly what was going to happen at the end of the show. And here, they should have had that moment alone. Either they should have had it for the next week, or it should have been the opening. Because you could have done Jake something and Joe Henry next week. Or you could have done Marsha Slamovich and Savannah Evans next week, as long as it didn't interfere with what we got. Good match, but wasn't great. In the end, Marsha did win. Marsha Slamovich was going to win. Now, Cora Jade won, and that was just after Cora Jade's match. So they'll have something to add. Probably they'll have some type of extra on TNA Plus, or they'll have it on the YouTube channel. Never know. They may add something to the story of those two dealing with each other. Maybe you'll get Cora Jade attacking Marsha. After the match. You never know. It may actually happen. Now, let's talk about a few things that happened. Let's talk about, what did I feel about the Hardys talking with Leon Slater? I'm glad it happened. Finally, you're getting something from Leon Slater. We have had him for almost a year now, and they've done nothing with him except have matches. He has not done any type of segments in the back. He hasn't had really storyline. We have barely heard him talk. Being from the UK, I want to hear this boy speak. So now he spoke, and it was good. Then later, we had the moment with JDC. I'm glad Johnny Curtis was the one who dealt with him before. And now he deals with him again, saying that the Hardys are trying to use you, and you're kissing up to their asses. And he says, I ain't kissing up to no one. Why are you messing with me? And he says, you don't know anything. And he said, why don't we go again? You know what's going to happen. And JDC said, oh, really? Really, you know what's going to happen? You know will happen. And he says, oh, sure, the dance is messing with me. And once he pie-faced him, that was good. It's good to see that JDC, Johnny Dango Curtis, is going to be the first real feud that Leon Slater is going to get. If you don't like JDC, I can understand it. But I can say this. JDC, when he needs to, he can put it on. He can do good promos. He can. You remember when he was doing with Alpha, and he's saying, "I hate pro wrestling." Alpha Bravo, I hate pro wrestling. That was something I was enjoying. A lot of people were enjoying it. So he does have the ability to talk. And generally speaking, he still goes well in the ring. So seeing that this is truly the first storyline for Leon Slater, I'm fine with. Now, what did we get when it came to the Rascals, Ace, and Wesley's boys? I think that's all I'm going to call them. I'm not going to call them by the name. I'm going to call them the Wesley's boys. Because that's who is leading it, Wesley. Wesley has more experience than these two. And he's leading them, so those are his boys. He's going to be teaching what he's learned being on the Independence and TNA. And what he learned in NXT as well. And I'm glad to see that they are doing this. It's going to go from NXT, and he'll work with them there, and then TNA. And since he knows TNA very well, at least what few people are still there, he'll be able to help them grow as well as a team. And seeing that, and this was addressed by, well, somewhat addressed when it came to, did he really address it? Trey didn't really say clearly, other than he's not our first pick. But I kind of wish he had said, you know what, we need to talk about Ace Austin, a guy that I know better than anyone because of the history we had where we have not blended well. But I respect him for as a champion, and I went against him, and I went to war with him. So I respect him, and seeing that he understands us and understands what we've gone through, I'm glad he has our back. And then when he calls him out, that would have been a better thing. Because I truly believe that's what they needed. Seeing Trey bring up the past during the Impact era. And when they went up against each other because of Trey's mom, at least that's how they went with it. I truly believe that would have been very good. It didn't have to be very detailed, but it just needed to be extra. And I think that's what they need in TNA, extra. But the fight was fine. Ace Austin coming out was fine. The beatdown was fine. And the retreat. And what can I say about the rest? How far they're going to go? With Ace? With Wes? His boys? And the Rascals? I don't know. Now, the interesting part, and I'm not forgetting about the treehouse. When I believe it was it Tyson that said it, or was this his other partner? I think Tyson might have said this, but I think it was his other partner who said, wait. They got no titles or anything. Why are we going to beat them down? Let's just do the treehouse. Let's take it. So that means they're going to do something with the Rascal treehouse. I don't know what they're going to do in that place. Will they destroy it? Will they burn it down? Will they take it to NXT? I don't know. We will find out. Finally. Oh, and First Class. Not forgetting First Class either, but let's make it very clear. I don't know how far they're going to go with that. I don't know what it is, but maybe it will be good. Maybe. But let's make this now the final segment of this video. He is now, what did I think I was going to call it? His run is over. I think that would be the best title. His run is over, and you'll probably see a picture of Josh flat on the mat, done. Guys, I know many people did not like Josh Alexander when he came into TNA. Well, Impact Wrestling. There was one guy that just could not stand him because he reminded him of Kurt Angle, a very watered down piece of crap Kurt Angle. And I said this. When you see what he did, was he perfect? No. Was he great at talking? Hell no. Did he have personality? To an extent, yes. But he found way more personality as a heel. Flat out. As they say, when in doubt, heel him out. He was a better heel than he was as a face. And since this was legitimately his last match before his contract ended, and now wherever he goes, I believe he will go to Maple Leaf Pro, but he could go WWE or AEW. I think will be the, let's make this clear. Maple Leaf Pro, WWE, and then AEW would be last. It's like first choice, second choice, and third choice. That's what I believe Josh Alexander may do. That's what I think he may do. If he's not going to Maple Leaf Pro, he will go to WWE. AEW will probably be the last decision he makes. But when you see him for what he was he a good all-around wrestler? No. This is a great wrestler. This is an all-around good wrestler. He's slightly under that. He had the ability to wrestle, yes. He had the ability to at least talk to a certain extent, yes. Holding a character wasn't that great until he became heel. That is when he was better. So he's just at the edge of an all-around good wrestler. And in many cases, that's what you want in a promotion. You don't always want the most greatest wrestler, because a lot of times you'll have problems trying to book them. As you're going to say, no, that's not true. Yes, it is. Sometimes there are spots you just don't want to put your best wrestler in because you don't want to mess something up. So you want to put someone who's under your best wrestler, your second tier wrestler, to be able to do storylines, to be able to do work that you know can get done with somewhat good talking, somewhat good charisma, but good wrestling overall. That's what you sometimes want. You don't want the absolute best because you're never going to get them all to be the best. You just want someone who's all around good. And he's roughly near that, or is that. The match was fine. It wasn't one of the best I've ever seen Josh or Eric Young run. And then you see the Northern Army on the outside circling around doing what they do. But in the end, it was done. You see some cheating, of course, and you saw Eric win. Eric won the match. Now, what does this mean for the norm? I think the reason I'm botching here is how far they're going to push Steve Maclin. That's going to be the big question. Steve has been around long enough that he could easily be in the main event again. He was in the main event until he got hurt, and he was out. Then he came back. Right now, you got several people that can easily be in the main event. You got Santana, who's being billed eventually in the main event. You got Joe Henry, who is in the main event. You got Nick Nimitz, who's in the main event. Now you can have Steve Maclin go back into the main event. And I do believe that could be done. But will they put him in the main event again? Because there's going to be a big question, because you already got Joe, who's heavily popular right now. Nick, who looks like he may transition to heel, or his brother may force him to transition to heel. Then you got Santana, who easily is going to be a main eventer. But the question is, will they make enough room for that? I don't know. The show was not bad, but there were decisions I just don't agree with. If I'm forgetting something, mention it below. Tell me what you think. Peace.